My name's Alex, and I guess you could say I'm pretty good at spotting weird when it shows up. I've worked enough odd jobs to know that immediate start, no experience necessary, usually means something's off. But that post office ad? That one looked too normal, and that's what made me nervous. I found the ad on a Tuesday, coffee shop bulletin board, hand-typed on actual paper, not a printout from a computer, just a small white card pinned between a yoga class flyer and someone selling a couch. Night postal clerk, immediate start, flexible schedule, call for details. There was a phone number at the bottom and an address I didn't recognize. I took a picture of it and called that afternoon. A woman answered on the first ring. Her voice was flat, professional but cold. "You're calling about the position?" "Yeah, is it still open?" "Can you start tonight?" I blinked. Sure." "Be there at 10 p.m., don't be late." She hung up before I could ask anything else. The post office sat about 20 minutes outside town, tucked at the end of a gravel road that didn't show up on GPS. I almost missed the turn. It was a squat, one-story building with faded red trim and a flag hanging from a crooked pole. No lights in the parking lot. No cars either, except for a white van with no plates parked around back. I sat in my car for a minute, engine still running. The place looked abandoned, but the door was unlocked. Inside, the air was cold, colder than it should have been for May. The floors were yellowed tile, the kind you see in old schools. Overhead lights hummed in a slow, uneven rhythm. There was no front desk, no waiting area, just a narrow hallway and a metal door at the end with a sign that said, "Staff only." I knocked. No answer. I tried the handle. It opened. The room inside was bigger than I expected. Long rows of metal shelves, stacks of boxes, crates labeled with codes I didn't understand. And standing in the center of it all was a woman in a green postal uniform, arms crossed, watching me. "You Alex?" "Yeah." She nodded once. "I'm Elena, you're late." I glanced at my phone. It was 9:58. She didn't wait for me to respond, just handed me a vest, a flashlight, and a clipboard. "You'll be doing intake," she said. "Boxes come in through the back. You scan them, log the codes, stack them by zone. Easy." "What zones?" "You'll figure it out." She turned and walked toward the back of the room, boots clicking on the tile. I followed. The loading dock was dark, except for one dim bulb hanging from a chain. There were no trucks, no delivery vans, just an open metal door that led into the night. Elena stopped at the edge and pointed to a stack of boxes already sitting on the concrete. "Those came in an hour ago," she said. "Start there." I looked at the boxes. They were plain, brown cardboard, no logos, no return addresses. "Who delivers them?" I asked. Elena didn't look at me. "Doesn't matter." "But just scan and log. Don't open anything. Don't ask questions." She walked away before I could say anything else. I worked alone for the first hour. The scanner was old, the kind with a thick plastic grip and a red laser that clicked every time it read a barcode. Most of the boxes scanned fine. The codes were random strings of letters and numbers that didn't mean anything to me. But then I got to the third box on the second pallet. It was smaller than the others, wrapped in brown paper instead of cardboard, and it had no barcode, just a name, written in black ink across the top. Caroline Moss. I turned it over. No return address, no postmark, no stamp. I called out to Elena. "Hey, this one doesn't have a code." She appeared in the doorway, arms still crossed. "Put it in the hold bin." "Where's that?" She pointed to a metal bin tucked under the far shelf. It had a lock on the front and a faded label that said, "Special Handling." I walked over and set the box inside. The lock clicked shut on its own. At midnight, the lights flickered. I looked up. The bulb over the loading dock swung slightly, even though there was no wind. Then I heard it, a sound from outside, Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming closer. I walked to the edge of the dock and looked out. The parking lot was empty, but the footsteps didn't stop. They came right up to the door, and then they stopped. I waited. Nothing. I stepped back inside and turned around. There was a new box sitting on the floor, right in the middle of the room. I hadn't heard anyone bring it in. The box was the same as the others, brown paper, black ink. But this time the name made my stomach drop. Alex Brennan. That's my name, my full name. The one I don't use, the one only my family knows. I picked it up. It was light, almost empty. I shook it gently. Something shifted inside, something small and soft. I looked toward the hallway. Elena was gone. I set the box down and backed away. At 6 a.m., Elena came back. She didn't say anything about the box, just handed me a paper to sign and told me I did fine. "Same time tomorrow?" I asked. She nodded. I left through the front door, climbed into my car, and didn't look back. But as I pulled onto the main road, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The box with my name was sitting on the passenger seat. I don't remember bringing it with me. I still work at the post office, and every night I wonder when another box will show up with a name I recognize. Maybe yours. You know how some places just feel wrong the moment you walk in? Like the air sits heavier or the silence is too thick. The post office felt like that from day one, but it wasn't until I met the night courier that I realized wrong didn't even begin to cover it. Quick question before we dive in. Have you ever met someone who just felt off? Not dangerous exactly, but like they didn't quite belong? Let me know in the comments. I'd been working at the post office for about 2 weeks when I first saw him. It was a Thursday night, quiet shift. Elena had clocked out early, saying she had something to take care of. I was alone in the sorting room, stacking boxes by zone like she'd shown me. That's when I heard the door open. Not the front door, the back door. The one that led to the loading dock. I looked up. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, maybe 6'2", wearing a dark blue jacket with a postal logo I didn't recognize. His hat was pulled low, shadowing most of his face. He didn't say anything, just stood there, holding a large canvas bag over one shoulder. Can I help you?" I asked. He tilted his head slightly, like he was thinking about it. Then he smiled. Not a friendly smile, not mean either, just wrong, too wide, too still. "Delivery," he said. His voice was flat, no accent, no emotion. He walked toward me, boots echoing on the tile, and set the bag down at my feet. "For intake." I looked at the bag. It was old, worn at the edges, with a leather strap that looked like it had been repaired a dozen times. "What's in it?" He didn't answer, just turned and walked back toward the door. "Wait," I called. "I need a manifest or something, a log." He stopped, turned his head just enough that I could see the edge of his jaw. "It's already logged." And then he was gone. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the bag. It didn't move, didn't smell like anything, didn't make a sound, but I didn't want to touch it. I called Elena. She picked up on the fourth ring. "What?" "Someone just dropped off a bag. Big canvas thing. Said it was for intake." Silence. "Elena, what did he look like?" I described him. The jacket, the hat, the smile. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then, "Don't open the bag." "Okay, but..." "Just leave it. I'll deal with it when I get back." She hung up. I left the bag where it was and went back to sorting, but every few minutes I'd glance over at it. It hadn't moved, but I swear it looked heavier than before. At some point I got curious. I walked over and crouched down next to it. The leather strap was fastened with a brass buckle, old and tarnished. There was a tag attached to the handle, yellowed with age. I flipped it over. One word, written in faded ink: undeliverable. Elena came back around 3 a.m. She didn't look at me, just walked straight to the bag, picked it up like it weighed nothing, and carried it to the back hallway. I followed. "Elena, what's in that thing?" She stopped at a door I'd never noticed before. It was narrow, unmarked, tucked between two storage shelves. She pulled a key from her pocket and unlocked it. "You don't want to know," she said. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. I stood there, listening. I heard her footsteps going downstairs, stairs I didn't know existed. The next night, the courier came back. Same time, same door, same canvas bag. This time, I was ready. "Hey," I said as he set the bag down. "What's your name?" He looked at me, that same tilted head, that same smile. "Doesn't matter. Do you work for the postal service?" "I work for the service." He turned to leave. "Wait, who do you deliver for?" He stopped, looked back over his shoulder. "The ones who can't deliver themselves." And then he was gone again. I started paying attention after that. The courier came every Thursday, always between 2 and 3 a.m., always with the same bag. Elena never explained, just took the bag and disappeared through that narrow door. But one night, she left it. She'd gone to the restroom, told me to keep sorting. The bag was sitting by the loading dock, right where the courier always left it. I walked over, crouched down, and this time, I opened it. Inside were letters, dozens of them, maybe more, all different sizes, different handwriting, different ages. Some were yellowed and brittle, others looked brand new. I picked one up. The envelope was addressed to someone named Margaret Holloway. No street, no city, just a name. The return address said Department of Final Correspondence. I'd never heard of it. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten in careful cursive. It said, "We regret to inform you that your request for extension has been denied. Please prepare accordingly." No signature, no date, just those 2 sentences. I put it back and pulled out another. Same thing, different name, different message, but the same tone. Cold, formal, final. "What are you doing?" I jumped. Elena was standing behind me, arms crossed. I dropped the letter back into the bag and stood up. I told you not to touch it. I know, but do you know what those are?" I shook my head. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Those are letters to the dead, people who didn't get their message in time, people who left things unsaid." I stared at her. "What are you talking about?" "The courier," she said. "He's not delivering to the living. He's delivering to the ones who are gone. And when their families write back, trying to reach them, those letters end up here." "That's insane." She didn't blink. "You think so? Then explain why every letter in that bag is addressed to someone who's already dead." I looked it up that night. Margaret Holloway, died 3 years ago, car accident. I checked 5 more names from the letters I'd seen. Every single one, dead. Some recently, some decades ago, but all of them gone. The courier still comes every Thursday. I don't ask questions anymore. I just let Elena take the bag. But sometimes late at night, I think about those letters, about the people who wrote them, about the ones who never got to say goodbye. And I wonder if someday, someone will write a letter for me, and if the courier will be the one to deliver it. If you've ever lost someone and wished you could send them one last message, maybe you already have. Maybe it's sitting in that bag right now. There's a room in the post office that doesn't appear on any floor plan. Elena told me about it my 3rd week, said it used to be an office. Now it's just a door at the end of the south hallway with a sign that says Archives. She also told me never to go inside. Naturally, I didn't listen. Before we get into this one, I want to ask, have you ever gone somewhere you weren't supposed to? Opened a door that should have stayed closed? Tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. The door wasn't locked. That surprised me. I'd passed it 100 times. Always assumed it was storage or maintenance. Maybe old filing cabinets nobody cared about anymore. But one night, Elena left early again. Something about a family thing. She didn't give details, and I got curious. The hallway was quiet. Just me and the hum of the overhead lights. I walked to the end, past the break room, past the lockers, and stopped in front of the door. There was no handle, just a flat metal plate with a keyhole. But when I pushed, it opened. The hinges didn't even creak. Inside was a small room, maybe 10 by 12 feet. The walls were lined with shelves, floor to ceiling. Every inch packed with boxes, folders, and loose papers tied with string. There was a single desk in the center, old wood, scratched and stained. And on the desk sat a ledger. Thick, black leather, no title on the cover. I should have left. But I walked over and opened it. The first page was blank. So was the second. I flipped through a few more, expecting the same. Then I found writing. Not typed, handwritten, clean, careful cursive. The first entry was dated 1962. It said, "Employee number 037, Richard Dalton, hired March 4th, terminated March 19th. Cause, violation of archive access protocol, final disposition, unrecorded." I turned the page. More names, more dates, all employees. Some I recognized from the old photos hanging in the break room. Others I'd never heard of. Each entry ended the same way. Final disposition, unrecorded. I kept flipping. The entries went on for pages, decades of names, and then I saw one that made me stop. Employee number 154, Elena Ruiz, hired June 2019, current status, active, notes, high compliance, low inquiry rate, suitable for extended assignment. I read it again. Elena. She'd told me she'd been here 3 years. The dates matched, but the notes didn't make sense. High compliance, low inquiry rate. What did that mean? And what was an extended assignment? I turned the page, and there it was, my name. Employee number 167, Alex Brennan, hired May 2025. Current status, active. Notes, moderate curiosity, elevated risk. Monitor closely. My hands started shaking. I flipped ahead. More entries, all recent hires. Some marked active, others marked terminated. And under each termination, a single line. Removed from service, memory adjusted. I heard footsteps. From the hallway, slow, deliberate. I closed the ledger and stepped back. The door opened. Elena stood in the doorway. She didn't look surprised and just tired. "I told you not to come in here," she said. "Elena, what is this place?" She walked past me and set her bag down on the desk. It's exactly what it looks like. A record. A record of what? Of everyone who's worked here, everyone who's seen too much. I stared at her. "You knew my name was in there." She nodded. "It's in there the day you start. They write it down before you even walk through the door." "Who's they?" She didn't answer, just opened the ledger and flipped to a page near the back. She turned it toward me. I looked down. It was a list of names, all marked terminated, all with the same note underneath. Entered archive without clearance, memory adjusted, released. "What does that mean?" I asked. Elena's voice was quiet. "It means they let you go. They wipe what you saw. You leave thinking you quit, or got laid off, or just moved on. And you remember all this because..." She looked at me. "Because I'm supposed to." She told me to sit down. I did. She pulled out a folder from one of the shelves and set it in front of me. "This building isn't just a post office," she said. It's a processing center for things that don't fit anywhere else. What kind of things? Mail that shouldn't exist, messages from people who shouldn't be able to send them, packages with no origin, letters to the dead, deliveries from the dead. She flipped open the folder. Inside were photos, old ones, black and white, some in color but faded. All of them showed the same building, but in different years, different names on the sign out front. Federal Transit Station, 1947, Regional Mail Depot, 1966. Logistics and Containment Facility, 1982. Postal Service Substation, 2003. It's always been here, Elena said, and it's always done the same thing. Sort what can't be sorted, deliver what can't be delivered, and keep the people who work here quiet. Why? She closed the folder. Because if people knew what really moved through here, they'd burn it down. I asked her why she stayed. She said she didn't have a choice. Once you see what's in the ledger, you're either marked active or marked terminated. If you're active, you keep working. You keep quiet. And maybe, if you last long enough, they let you go with your memory intact. And if you're terminated? She didn't answer, just looked at the ledger, at the long list of names that ended with memory adjusted. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. Eventually, Elena stood up. You need to decide, she said. Decide what? Whether you're going to stay, or whether you're going to walk out that door and forget this place ever existed. And if I stay? She looked at me. Then you keep working, you keep quiet, and you accept that some things aren't meant to be understood. And if I leave, then you wake up tomorrow in your car or your apartment, and you won't remember any of this. The post office, the courier, the letters, me. They can do that? She nodded. They've done it to everyone else who opened that ledger. I thought about it, about the box with my name on it, about the courier who delivered to the dead, about the letters that shouldn't exist, about all the strange, impossible things I'd seen in just a few weeks. And I realized something I didn't want to forget, not because I understood it, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was part of something bigger than myself. Even if that something was strange, even if it didn't make sense, it was real. I told Elena I'd stay. She nodded, didn't smile, didn't look relieved, just said, okay. She walked me back to the sorting room and handed me my clipboard. Back to work, she said. And that was it. I still work at the post office. Elena's still here too. We don't talk about the archive much. Don't talk about the ledger. But sometimes, late at night, when the building is quiet and the lights are flickering, I think about all the people whose names were in that book. The ones who stayed, and the ones who left and forgot. And I wonder which choice was really the right one. If you've ever felt like you've forgotten something important, something that happened but left no trace, maybe you worked here once. Maybe your name is still in that ledger. And maybe one day you'll remember.